Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. Another unexpected and sad tribute video, unfortunately. It's 7:45, and got home from work and had dinner, put on my computer, and I had two messages, including David Kunsley, who let me know that Mick Ralphs passed away. And it's a sad loss, so I definitely want to talk about it, because I am a big Bad Company fan, as probably most of you are, and I'm also a Mott the Hoople fan. Those were the two bands that Mick Ralphs was in, and he was in those bands in their entirety, which is really something. So let's talk about it. Mott the Hoople, and I have a few of their albums. In fact, I actually read a huge book on Ian Hunter and Mott the Hoople. It was a paperback. It was like yay big. I was going on vacation, and we had to fly, maybe Dominican Republic, and I got that book just to read on that trip, and it was awesome. And really an eye-opener, because a lot of these bands, Mott the Hoople is a good example. So Mott the Hoople was around from, I would say, 69 to around 73, 74 maybe. They kind of have a legendary status now. But in fact, when they were around, they really were not a very successful band. And we all know the story. Here's one of their earlier albums, Wildlife. Try to find this CD. This is not easy to find. But it's good. It's okay, I think. They were at their end, and David Bowie, of course, saved them with All the Young Dudes, which this album with bonus tracks. And this is their only top 40 hit that they had in America. It's actually, if you look close, what was on All the Young Dudes was Ready for Love. And, of course, Mick Ralphs would bring that over to Bad Company and have a big hit with it, but it was not a big hit from this here album. And that was, I imagine, the biggest hit that Mott the Hoople ever had, at least in the United States. Mott the Hoople was definitely bigger in the UK than they were in America. That album barely broke the top 100 Billboard album charts. And then they got the Mott album, which is a really fine album, and some great songs on that. And of course, you got the Hoople with that great album cover. You got the live record where they play it on Broadway, and over in the West End in England, they put that great live album out as well. Really a good way to experience Mott the Hoople is on like a good anthology, and I got a couple of them. This is a really good one, this double one. The Ballad of Mott, a retrospective. This is a really, really good one. So Mott the Hoople, Mick Ralphs, they were done by 73. They had the big hit with All the Young Dudes, but then after that, come and go, different players leaving, and a lot of stress and a lot of financial problems. And Mick Ralphs says, I'm done. And this is actually a cool book. He winds up meeting Paul Rodgers, of course, who was in Free, and they decide they're going to form a new band, and that's going to be Bad Company. You ever saw this book? This is a great book called Heavy Load, The History of Free. But I will show this to you also because it's an amazing book. And good luck finding it. I don't even remember where I found this thing. But this goes through the whole history of Free. And why am I mentioning this with Paul Rodgers? But it does talk about how they met. Paul Rodgers and Mick Ralphs met, and there it is. They formed Bad Company, and that goes into the beginnings of Bad Company and the success of Bad Company as well. It's a really, really cool book. I thought I would show that. I've actually used it on these, these CD things that I do, where I put the CDs, but that's a cool book to check out. So Mick Ralphs leaves Mott the Hoople around 73 or so, and they form Bad Company in 1974 with Paul Rodgers, Mick Ralphs on guitar, Simon Kirke on drums, Bob Burrell from King Crimson on bass. A supergroup. They're the first band signed to Led Zeppelin's Swan Song. And they got a lot of money and a lot of power to push them. Peter Grant, the manager, well, no more powerful manager in music at that time than him. And you got the money of Led Zeppelin and Bad Company being a great band. And the original Bad Company, 1974 to 1982. Now, in case you're wondering, the Hoople, the final Mott the Hoople album came out in 74, but he had left the band. Here's the debut album from Bad Company. this album hit #1 in the United States, and there's Ready for Love, which I just showed you was a leftover from Mott the Hoople, actually. And this is a amazing debut album. Hit #1 in the U.S., huge hit in the U.K., went top 5. May have even went to like #3, if my memory serves, but don't hold me to it. The next album, of course, Straight Shooter. Another amazing, great record. Not as good as the first one, but really great. This was another huge hit. This was top 5 both in the United States and in the UK. So they're on a roll. Great start. Big band, arena-sized band here in the United States. And then they do Run with the Pack and Burning Sky. And these albums are fine. They're not up to the level, in my opinion, of those other ones, but they're still really good. And they always have some great classic tracks on them, that's for sure. They come back strong with Desolation Angels, which is a huge hit in the United States. This brought them back to the previous successful of like Straight Shooter. And then they do their final record of the original Bad Company. It's around 82 with Rough Diamonds, which a lot of people think is one of the worst albums of all time. I actually don't think it's as bad as it's as bad as they say when it comes to these albums. But it's not unlistenable. I actually love Electric Land, the original single opening track. So, but yeah, not a great record. That's the end of Bad Company, circa around 1982. But then they come back 1986 through like the late 90s, 1998 even. There's a lot of different Bad Companies, different lineups, but Mick Ralphs is part of all of those lineups. He was always in the band, which is amazing. Always in Mott the Hoople with all their revolving lineups. Always in Bad Company with their revolving lineups. Up through 1998, they definitely reform and put out this great anthology, which I think is a fantastic collection of the original Bad Company. Had a couple of new tracks on there. And now you got the original Bad Company back, at least for a while. Comes and goes. After that, they reform, they play live, they put out some compilations. This is a great 2 CD live set if you never saw this one. But they never really put out fresh new studio records, the original lineup. But there is a bunch of live ones. Hard Rock Live, which is why I'm wearing the Hard Rock hat. This actually, is this with the DVD? Yeah, this is a DVD and a CD. They were really good. Sometimes different lineups. Here's an extended version, compilation of live stuff. They would come and go, come back, and apparently, and this is the part that I didn't realize, and here's another one, Merchants of Cool. So, Mick Ralphs is a mainstay of Bad Company, regardless of who's in the band. He's a mainstay of Mott the Hoople, regardless of who is in the band. And the amazing thing is their final tour, unfortunately, when they played their final tour, Bad Company, the final show was at the O2 Arena in London. We're talking 2016 or so. What are we in now? 25? 2015. I think it was 2016. And after that final show, he had a stroke. And that was the last I heard that Mick Ralphs had a stroke after that O2 show. I didn't know what happened to him. And now that he passed away, I saw a story that he has been relatively bedridden ever since then. And that is really, really sad. Oh, my God. You talk about a rock star and generally is supposed to be a really nice guy and a great player and great legacy and brought us all happiness. And to find out that I just found out, maybe you knew this, that he's been bedridden pretty much since 2016 with a horrible stroke. That is really sad. That's 9 years like that pretty much. And apparently he passed away at the age of 81. I think he passed away today, or at least they announced it today. So a really sad ending to a guy who was a super talent and brought me a lot of joy, and I'm sure it brought you a lot of joy. and just a sad way to go. And I had no idea. So I wanted to do a tribute to the great late Mick Ralphs, Bad Company, and Mott the Hoople. And of course, the other sad thing is that Bad Company was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in America. And I imagine he wouldn't have been able to go to the show considering what I've heard about his condition. But even so, it would have been nice if he was alive to see the induction. And it's a sad thing about timing with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It seems that it happens a lot. You know, they put Yes in after Chris Squire passed away. And at least Mick Ralphs knew that they were getting in Bad Company, so there's something to be said for that. But, yeah, really sad. So anyway, there is my tribute to Mick Ralphs, Bad Company, and Mott the Hoople. And I guess I think I'm going to throw a CD on. I might even put on this one. You know, sometimes a contrarian position. I'm going to put on Rough Diamonds. See if it's as bad as I remember. I don't know. Some of the stuff on here wasn't terrible. Most of it. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll put something else on. We'll see. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Please send your comments, what your thoughts on Mick Ralph and Ralph's and Bad Company and Mott the Hoople. And it's a bummer because like you want to comment on these great artists who you love, but it's just going to be. I just hope it spreads out more. It's like we're at that age where everybody is either going to be sick or passing away. And then, of course, you just don't know. Like I said, I didn't know he was 9 years after a stroke. He was incapacitated. Really sad. Anyway, thanks again so much. I'll see you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.